Midnights by Taylor Swift, formerly known as TS10, has finally arrived. With songs like Antihero, Lavender Haze, Snow on the Beach with Lana Del Rey, and Karma, Midnights has been one of the year's most highly anticipated new albums, and it's already shattered multiple records. But is it good? Some fans think it is, others think it's kind of mid. Some critics praise it, and others find it disappointing. So which is it? Hello friends, I'm Jonathan Miller, and welcome back to Jonathan Miller Music, where we help each other become better artists. Taylor Swift's Midnights sees the star return to pop music in a way that's been described as a mix of 1989, Reputation, Lover, and Folklore combined. Some people have viewed that as an area of excellence, and others have seen it as a detriment. Taylor Swift is one of my favorite artists for a multitude of reasons, especially as somebody who grew with her music, but I am capable of taking off my fan hat from time to time on this channel and look at things objectively. There are a lot of things that I love about Midnights and things that I think Taylor did very well, but I also understand why some people are reacting the way that they are. So, obligatory opinion warning, this video is just my opinion and yours might be the same or different, and that's perfectly okay. So like this video, subscribe if you're new, and if you'd like to support this channel even further, consider becoming a channel member for all sorts of perks, goodies, badges, and emotes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's take a look at Midnights by Taylor Swift. Midnights opens with Lavender Haze, a synth pop and dream pop inspired track that sets the stage thematically for the following songs on the album. It explores thoughts inside Taylor's head, which is where the majority of the album confines itself to. She's aware of her position as a millennial woman in her 30s, still being expected to live within a certain societal box in terms of gender roles in a relationship, and expresses the desire to live in that moment of not caring about it with someone who doesn't pay attention to what others say about her either. Especially in spite of the fact that Taylor acknowledges she's essentially trained to care about that societal box, since people's perceptions of her private life has played a significant role in her life for more than 15 years. It's pop, but it's subdued in a way that calls back songs like I Think He Knows. Taylor plays around with vocal textures and productions a lot on Midnights, and Lavender Haze prepares the listener for what's to come by combining a familiar pop structure with minor adjustments. Because of rising streaming culture and the COVID-19 pandemic, changing the way in which people predominantly consume music, it's important to recognize that nowadays the traditional pop structure is often challenged. Songs are typically shorter, often omitting bridges completely, which is a lyric section that often provides closure to a song's story, and a section of music that Taylor Swift is known to write very well. Lavender Haze instead keeps this traditional pop format in order to draw listeners in. Most Swifties don't really skip around through songs upon their first listen of a brand new Taylor Swift album, and she knows that because she's trained her fans into understanding that an album is a complete package, from start to finish. She gets pretty personal right away, in a way that kind of feels like a continuation of where Lover left off 3 years ago, especially if you listen to them back to back, ignoring Folklore and Evermore. She tells a personal story with her music, which you can do with DistroKid. DistroKid is a fantastic music distribution platform helping independent artists like you and me get our music up on places like Spotify, Apple Music, and Tidal. For one low yearly price, you can drop as much music as you can create and get your fans streaming ASAP. DistroKid offers a wide array of features, a lot of which other services don't provide. This includes things like hyperfollow, Spotify Canvas Generator, and promo cards. Another fun thing you can do on DistroKid is to fill out your own personal profile. You can pick a screen name, your stage name, and fill in your bio. You can also put your location so people will know where you're based, upload a profile pic, choose your languages that you speak, and drop your social links too. You can add your areas of expertise, genres, and select a long, ever-growing list of musical influences. You can add as many as you want and even set up mobile alerts too. Why would you want to do that? Well, DistroKid works with labels and artists and occasionally will feature its users' music in a variety of ways, meaning people will be able to check your profile out and maybe even connect with you if you'd like. If that sounds exciting, join DistroKid ASAP and use my special VIP link to save yourself 7% on your first year's membership. Link is in the description. Maroon and Antihero bring the listener further into the central theme of Midnights, which is self-analysis. Whereas Folklore and Evermore are fictional storytelling that may or may not act as a guise for Taylor's own personal experiences in some ways, and Lover directly describes Taylor's viewpoints about the world around her, Midnights explicitly explores Taylor's own thoughts, emotions, and even the consequences of those life experiences. Maroon describes the legacy of a relationship still haunting her many years later, and Antihero explicitly states Taylor's awareness of her own toxic traits, not in a way that makes the people people who spent years tearing her down and labeling her things as a serial dater or a toxic person as now suddenly correct per se. Instead, Antihero calls attention to her anxiety and depression and recognizing where those things stem from. The song doesn't directly blame anyone else and instead places the blame all on Taylor herself, all of which is expressed in the accompanying music video. As I previously expressed in my initial thoughts video, Antihero relies on subtext, nuance, and an ability to look beyond the surface from its audience, fans and critics alike. Humor and metaphors are performed in order to call attention to the societal pressures about what creates and puts these toxic traits into our own minds. In other words, it's our own fault for believing all these negative things about ourselves, but through the songs and videos subtext, it's our job to change that as society too. The lyrics, "Sometimes I feel like everybody's a sexy baby, and I'm a monster on the hill, and I'll stare directly at the sun but never in the mirror," amplifies this message. We often perceive everyone around us as more than us, more perfect, more talented, more flawless, and we ourselves are a terrible, hideous nothing, unworthy, and we say these things to ourselves with confidence. We pierce our own hearts through negative thoughts, but only just enough to continuously hurt ourselves, because the world around us has convinced us to do so. For having a fun pop beat, that song is actually very dark. Snow on the Beach, while a beautiful song, unfortunately continues Taylor's signature of female duets never highlighting the guest vocalists in typical ways. While I don't personally listen to a lot of Lana Del Rey's music, I'm familiar enough with her music, sound, and thematic elements enough to be excited by the combination of Taylor and Lana's vocal stylings mixed together. It would have been wonderful to have Lana sing an entire verse or section herself, but the utilization of guest female vocalists as background harmonies is at this point a Taylor signature. So taking the song for what it is and accepting what it's not, Snow on the Beach is a hauntingly dream pop song that places an emphasis on the atmosphere and texture. Lana really does sound gorgeous behind Taylor's voice. Their vocals complement each other wonderfully. It offers a complex love song entry with my favorite lyric being, "My smile is like I won a contest and to hide that would be so dishonest," because it shows that while Midnights may arguably be Taylor's darkest album to date, it still contains softer and sweeter moments too. Taylor Swift's track 5s are notorious for being poignant and important to her life and her albums. You're on Your Own Kid is no different in this way, except this time she took the opportunity to speak not only to her past self, but also directly to the people who listen to her. Being 30 is really strange, because at this point in life, you've seen love and you've seen loss. People around you die or get sick. You lose friends, you find new friends. And in a lot of ways, you begin to see the fruits of your labor too. You care a lot less about people's opinions about your own life as a full-fledged adult, but the child within you still lingers. Your childlike interests don't just magically disappear when you blow out the candles on a birthday cake. Now society wants you to feel very old, and in a lot of ways you are. You are a fully grown adult, but you're also not as old as people really want you to be, because in a lot of ways you still feel like a kid too. You're old enough to be responsible and know right from wrong, but if you loved doing something as a teenager or in your 20s, it doesn't just magically go away because people around you want it to. 30 really isn't that old, especially nowadays, and You're on Your Own Kid. I feel this song is very much geared to people in their late 20s, because it's like, you've made it this far, you can keep going. Embrace your childhood and embrace adulthood. Both things can coexist at the same time if you let them. It's a brilliant open letter to inspire hope in a dark world, without painting everything as rainbows and butterflies or even darkness and despair. It's saying, you can do this. You've already done so much, you can keep going. It's a much needed dose of inspiration on Midnights. Midnight Rain plays up Taylor's vocal production techniques in the album's title track. The story of Midnight Rain acts as a counter to songs like Snow on the Beach in that this song explores a good love lost rather than thoughts about someone she's with now. Question continues this theme. Sampling and referencing her own song Out of the Woods, Question truly feels like it's about that same experience. Out of the Woods is one of my personal favorite Taylor Swift songs of all time, but I also recognize that it's one of her most divisive among fans for its repeated lyric in the chorus. However, the fact that the question, "Are we out of the woods yet?" repeats symbolizes anxiety and uncertainty, and its production is designed to make the listener feel a little bit of that panic. Question, on the other hand, is much more relaxed, as if her mind has finally calmed down long enough to think of other questions more clearly. It's like it's about the same situation as Out of the Woods, but now she's having thoughts about it many years later, which Taylor did confirm is a theme on this album. The mind still wonders about things, but also accepts the current outcome. It's not really closure either, just simple curiosity. It also begins to feed in more top 40 pop elements in its production, reminding the listener that Midnight still has bops, which serves to breathe radio-friendly life into a lyrically deep folklore-esque album, which is carried forward in the following 2 tracks. Both Vigilante Shit and Bejeweled take production techniques Taylor explored on Reputation and adds doses of folklore and Lover to create cool pieces of music. Bejeweled is like Me's older sister, a bit more refined but not afraid to be playful. Vigilante Shit is a bit more sultry and sleek in its playfulness, but it's not afraid to be deep either, offering commentary on gender roles and an acknowledgement of one's own behaviors. Labyrinth begins with a chord progression that calls back Cornelia Street and is one of Midnight's more simple offerings because it's meant to be that way. For a song that uses Labyrinth as a title, which often symbolizes complexity and confusion, the song is quite uncomplicated. I've seen the song get arguably the most attention for being the most mid song on the record, and I think a lot of that stems from, once again, a lot of chorus repetition towards the end. A lot of people that I've seen talk about it don't really vibe with it, especially because its lyrics in the grand scheme of the album are relatively simple too. And following Folklore and Evermore, I think a lot of people look for her more complex lyrics now. The song does describe a complex emotion about learning to love when you're still terrified of it based on events in the past, but is it a top 40 banger? No. Is it boring? I think that depends on what you want a Taylor Swift song to be. If you hate her more pop-leaning songs like Me or Blank Space, but love songs like Sad, Beautiful, Tragic or Carolina, for example, or even The Archer, you might appreciate this song a little bit more than other people would. Personally, for the thought its lyrics are depicting, I don't think Labyrinth is that bad. Is it one I'll go back to a lot as time goes on? I'm not really sure because I enjoy a lot of her more contemporary offerings, but what do you think of Labyrinth? Let me know. Karma is the song that many people, including myself, were the most anxious to hear immediately following its announcement during her Midnight's Mayhem. Taylor laughed when she announced that song, letting us all know that she is fully aware of the karma theory. Taylor Swift's rumored scrapped album between 1989 and Reputation. Did the song deliver though? My initial reaction was slightly disappointed because it wasn't that badass, evil, rep era Taylor that I wanted, but that disappointment quickly went out the window when that chorus appeared, because it instantly became a bop. We often associate karma with revenge and darkness, especially given the karma theory with Taylor Swift, but instead, Taylor offers a very positive version of karma, coming back around and creating this anthemic sound much needed toward the end of the record. I imagine it will sound quite fun live in a big old stadium, similar to songs like Getaway Car, for example. Relax and let karma do the work, and that's basically what this song is about. Taylor was once considered a teen pop country girl who will eventually fade into obscurity, and now she's one of the most commanding figures in the entire music industry. Love her or hate her, when Taylor makes a move, people pay attention. Her legacy is sealed. Even if there was a competition between her and her haters, she is worth lots and lots of money. I think she clearly won. She does not have to work another day in her life. And the fact that she's continuing to do so, even redoing all of her old stuff because she can and people will buy it, and a lot of other legal issues which you can watch my other videos on to understand that, puts Taylor Swift, even if you hate her, in a very unique class of musicians in the world. Even if Taylor wrote another song about her ex-boyfriend, it really wouldn't even matter because she's outgrown the conversation around whether she can or can't or should or shouldn't. And that's why Karma, with its positive spin, still feels so badass. Sweet Nothing is the it's nice to have a friend of Midnight's. It's soft, it's pure, a tender moment before closing. Mastermind highlights the vulnerability of Midnight's in the best of ways. The title is a play on fans who've called Taylor a mastermind for years, and its subject matter depicts confessing to a loved one that because of childhood events making you become the person you are, you've almost duped them into loving you, luckily, only to be met with someone who knew the whole time and loved you anyway. That takes a great deal of maturity to admit to someone, and I think in this way it reflects Midnight's concept of self-analysis and thoughts the best, like a peek into the inner workings of Taylor's mind, only to be amplified by her chaotic surprise, the 3 a.m. bonus tracks. The Great War seems to depict the same event that one of my favorites, Afterglow from Lover, told. In Afterglow, she sings, "I blow things out of proportion, now you're blue. put you in jail for something you didn't do. Whereas in The Great War, she sings, and maybe it's the past that's talking, screaming from the crypt, telling me to punish you for things you never did. I think this song offers a great conclusion to the problem presented 3 years ago in Afterglow. Bigger Than the Whole Sky is a song about loss that may have understandably been interpreted as being about miscarriage. All I will say is that if you understand loss, this song will resonate. It's a track that encapsulates grief, and if you hear this song and it hits, my heart goes out to you too. Paris is a song that I truthfully love everything about except that chorus. It has such potential to have an amazing pop hooky chorus, and it just doesn't do it. Luckily, it's a bonus track, so I don't have to deduct too many points for it, but just know it irritates me. High Fidelity and Glitch are sonically different from the main album, which explains their bonus track placement. Glitch in particular offers almost a taste of lo-fi Taylor, and she sounds great on it. Would've, could've, should've been on the main album. Production-wise, I get why it isn't. It doesn't quite match, but its subject matter about grooming is so important. It's like All Too Well revisited, but much more vulnerable and direct. I myself was in an abusive relationship in high school, and this song stopped me in my tracks because it reflected so many feelings that I have had, especially now that I'm older and understand the world a little bit differently. Wow, did it hit! 10 out of 10 recommend listening. It offers a lot of insight to Taylor as a person now, and truthfully provides even more context to All Too Well. Dear Reader, the second album closer, offers an interesting take in comparison to the whole album. Dear Reader is a letter that says, "Don't take advice from me," while simultaneously giving some really good advice. Midnights is Taylor at her most vulnerable, and Dear Reader essentially closes the entire deluxe edition with another layer of grown insecurity. Whereas her previous albums operated with a thin layer of protection from either the media, social media, haters, or fans, Midnights as a whole provides a snapshot image of how she feels about some of those events in the past without that thin veil. If fans can pinpoint exactly where a song comes from, so be it. Rather than fight it or ignore it, Taylor takes a page out of her earliest works from songs like Teardrops on My Guitar and gets honest. It's quite amazing that 10 plus albums later, Taylor is still finding new ways to do the very thing that set her apart back in 2006, literally telling her truth. There are many influences on Midnights, and using our system of music marketing, I'd put its umbrella genre as pop. Pop is a very broad genre, and this album clearly returns to an overarching pop format as opposed to folklore and evermore. Its subgenre would be dream pop more specifically. Dream pop places an emphasis on texture and atmosphere, which is what Midnights favors overall on almost every track. Its niche would be synth pop. The album aesthetically might be a minimalist 70s vibe, but the music draws once again from the 80s, a pop sound that Taylor has previously explored. I would put its micro niche as thematically self-analytical, and not really any one genre at all, because the genre of the album is not necessarily the point. Midnights is a concept album about 13 sleepless nights and confronting one's own thoughts and emotions. If you like lyrics that are self-reflecting, with synth pop productions and dream pop textures that you can vibe to, this album is for you. So then why is Midnights criticized as a mid-album? While I myself would have preferred a more comfortable pop-leaning record that delivered more of Taylor's confectionery goodness, the album is not supposed to be comfortable. We live in a post-folklore, evermore, and re-recording world, and Taylor's lyric writing style has evolved. And because of Red Taylor's version and Fearless Taylor's version, those sugary pop numbers are still fresh in people's minds. All 4 albums that Taylor has dropped since the COVID-19 pandemic began have been massively successful. People also love to hate pop music. It's designed for the masses, which makes it the most criticized. So by returning to pop in any way, shape, or form, people will automatically search for songs that hit, even if their favorite TS album is folklore. Midnights has been described as a combination of 1989, Reputation, Folklore, and Lover, and for good reason. In a lot of ways, Midnights is the product of those 4 records, but it still offers something new. Taylor's vulnerability and reflection about herself as an adult 30-plus-year-old woman. Is it the party banger of 1989? No, but it didn't forget how to party. Is Midnights as overtly dark and radio-friendly like Reputation? No, but it leans further into the darkness than Reputation did, which is actually more of a love story record anyway. Is it as story-based and demanding that a dictionary be present with you when streaming like Folklore and Evermore? No, but it does keep that lyrical depth for the most part. Is it as bright-eyed and colorful like Lover? No, but it doesn't forget about softness, intimacy, and the colors that exist in a world that constantly reminds you how gray it is. Midnights revisits the past to add more to the story, to show growth as a person, lessons learned, confessions of the truth, and vulnerability to offer something familiar and new. What it lacks in pop confection, it makes up for in subject matter. Taylor explicitly talks about her depression, something she's only alluded to in albums prior. This album might not be for everyone, but there is something on this album for everyone. Taylor knows how to market an album. Even if you personally found her text preview on Instagram as cringy, she's someone who understands that the love of physical albums still exists and she cultivates it. She makes it a collection. She creates a sense of urgency about her albums, and fans follow it to buy merch quickly and help her constantly shatter records. Can you criticize the methodology? Sure, but her records are still flying off the shelves. If Taylor didn't cultivate those seeds, the plants would never grow. So if you're looking for an album that you can both think about and not think about, then meet the mastermind of music herself in Midnights.